Yellow. What am I talking about today? Reincarnated as the most hated villain. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty fun series. I kind of like the idea of, just like traveling around as the bad guy in the series, but trying to just be like a normal person. But, your body itself is like, nah, I'm gonna talk like a dickhead all the time. Um, yeah, either way. If you haven't seen any of these videos before, the general idea is I'm going to give you a rating off the bat, then I'm going to go into why I gave it that rating. Not really going to go into any, like, spoilers or anything. Just talk about it. Just say, like, whether or not you should read it. For this one, I'm going to give it a 7. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. Don't think it's incredible or anything, and it's definitely not, like, deep. But it's enjoyable. So what's the gist of the series? Well, it's an isekai because, yes, everything I do is an isekai. This guy is reincarnated into another world as a villain in a phone game that he really likes. Now, this is like a relatively liked character, but the reason that he's liked is because he has a really, really, really bad backstory that's, sympathetic. And this character, the guy that's reincarnated, is trying to kind of, like, wave away all the death flags and everything. Basically, he's trying to, stop him from dying, but his body naturally says things in a terse way. So he kind of, even if he does a good action, he, looks bad. He says things that are very rude and coarse. So basically everyone just doesn't see that he's actually a decent person, which, hey, I don't know, that's a fun little plot line. Not unique or anything, but it's fun. Yeah, as far as, like, how everything plays out, I mean, he meets, like, random characters that are in the game and kind of shows them, like, oh, he's actually a decent person, and then they slowly kind of build up a little bit of a rapport. They don't believe him at first, of course, like, this person's like a holy knight or whatever, and of course she's not going to believe him because he's like a dark mage, and, he acts like a douchebag, but through his actions he changes people's minds, because, that's how the story goes. And then, there's some pretty decent fights, like he fights a dragon king at one point, things like that. They're not, like, crazy cool or anything, but the art is relatively well done and it's enjoyable. They're not really meant to be about the fights, it's more so just like, here's a cool little fight, very short, brief, but visually striking, and it's just fun. The main, like, conflict mostly comes up with the hero here, who just will not accept that he's trying to change no matter what. It's kind of like, that's like the main conflict of the series, just him trying to, move on with his life and just be a normal person. Still helping here and there because he has the power to do so, but he's not trying to do anything bad. As a matter of fact, he's going out of his way to change people's beliefs of him, right? Like he wants to do things that make people think, like, oh, he's actually a good person. But of course, the hero has to be, like, self-righteous and just can't accept that that someone can change, so it leads to conflict. The hero also has, like, a group of, I don't know what you'd really call it, like a guild, I guess, of other people that are counted as heroes that group up and, take out people like the main, character. And they, they get into conflicts here and there, and that's the basic idea of the series. He runs into some of these characters, they fight, and then, the tune changes, right? Yeah, I mean, it's just like, a jaunting series where you're just going from one place to the next, just having some fun with different characters. He meets a princess, he saves a princess, she thanks him, but he doesn't, accept it because, of course, he can't, express his emotions properly because it's, that's how the series is. I've seen the idea before. I wouldn't say it's necessarily unique. You know, the whole idea of like a villain that can't speak their mind. It's not really unique. I have to say it's a little annoying that, you know, he goes out of his way to help, you know, characters, and they don't necessarily look at his actions. They're more fixated on just his like personality and face. And I get that there's like, you know, some meant to be pent up animosity from before he was brought into this, you know, this body or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like that's not the best plot device because it seems. Listen, hey, I can't say anything for sure, but it seems like he didn't do anything like in the timeline of events, right? Like, let's say we're here at the end. Like, at this point, it seems as though he is not in trouble. Like, legally speaking, no one seems to think that he broke the law. No one necessarily is, like, you know, out to get him, per se. He just seems to be disliked because he's a little violent. But not necessarily, like, to the point where he's, you know, getting hunted down. So, clearly in his, you know, past, he didn't do anything that bad. So I'm not necessarily sure why, you know, that, you know, the people in the present have such a problem with him. It seems a little weird to me, considering, you know, all of the story inclinations kind of tell me that back in the past here, he didn't necessarily do anything that bad. Because, I mean, if he did, he would be, you know, hunted down or something, but they're always kind of pinning, you know, current things on him. Like, he's never being, like, you know, hunted because he did something before. He's being hunted because he currently is doing something, or at least they're saying he's doing something. So it seems a little weird to me, just in terms of, like, you know, writing. I feel like they could have, you know, built up something really bad in this past here, you know, like he axed somebody off or something. But whatever, you know, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to say it's too harsh or anything. I mean, I think it's meant to be more of just like a, you know, we're not trying to do anything super deep here. We're just going through the motions. I will say the isekai element's kind of irrelevant at a certain point. He just ends up kind of being this character, but with like a slightly less harsh mindset. But I feel like the isekai thing was just like a, it's like jump starting your lawnmower or something. Like, it doesn't, you know, as soon as you do it, you're good to go, and you kind of just move on from it. But whatever. I think that's, you know, the basics covered in just terms of that, you know, where everything lies and some elements of the series that I think stand out. I'll do the SAE just to give you an idea of, you know, the series as a whole, if you want to know the specifics. So it's, you know, if you haven't seen this before, it's story, art, enjoyment. Story 6, not really doing anything unique, not really doing anything super well, just satisfying. It's good. It does everything fine. Art-wise, it's pretty good. I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's pretty solid art. I enjoy the art, and I think most of the designs are relatively decent, so I feel like it's fair enough to give it an 8. Enjoyment, you know, it's not a bad series or anything, and I did like a lot of it. But it doesn't necessarily stand out as like one of those ones that I'm probably going to go back to later on when more of it's released or anything. Like, it's just, it's fine. I think like a 7 would probably be fair. It's like, it's pretty good. Like, it's not, there's no major faults. It's just minor things, like I said, you know, like his backstory being a little bit loose in terms of like how it plays out, and I don't know, just like some of the character motivations and unrealistic thought processes, and you know, but it's not like super overt, so I don't think it completely ruins the experience for me. So I think a 7's fair. We'll total that out to about a 7. I think that's a pretty fair rating. Solid series, you know, I'm not necessarily complaining about anything. It's just, you know, it has minor issues here and there that it could definitely fix and make a much, much better series overall, but it's not necessarily like, not bad. It's not bad. If you see it and you want to just get something enjoyable for a short little read, I think it is a good pickup. Yeah, okay. I think that's about it. I'd appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe. Maybe leave another story that you want me to read down below. Even if I've read it, I'll read it again. I don't really care. And yeah, I'll see you.